For those of you who know me well or want to at least get to know me, one of my favorite movies of all time is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. To be honest, I love everything about this movie, from the action to the comedy, the romance, the visual effects, the dialogue, the characters, the story, etc., etc. Details, details, details. I could literally go all day about talking about this damn movie. Luckily, the movie has been directed by Edgar Wright. If you've seen the Cornetto trilogy, you know exactly what you're going into. I still have to see Baby Driver. I saw this movie when I was 12 years old, and I found out that it was actually based off a graphic novel a year later. So my little mind was extremely blown, because at the time I was in middle school and I was reading the Kingdom Hearts manga. Yes, Kingdom Hearts have their own manga. So I ran straight to the library after school and ordered the first 3 books because I wanted to at least read half of it just to see if I wanted to continue or whatever. And my god, I love those books. I was extremely satisfied with all 3 of them. I did eventually go back and read 4, 5, and 6. FYI, read the books before you actually see the movie. I made that mistake one too many times. The Scott Pilgrim books were created by Brian Lee O'Malley, and they ran from 2004 to 2010, around the time of the movie's releases. So I will be reviewing the first book, and I'm not going to do a lot of compare and contrast to the movie, to the book, because, you know, pretty much a majority of the book is inside of the movie. Will I review any of the other books? I don't know, maybe. We'll have to see how this video works out. Okay, so enough jibber jabber. Let's get straight to the book. Do people still say jibber jabber? I don't really know. For those of you who've seen the movie, you'll notice that the first act of the movie is relatively the same as the book. The book just has a little bit more. I won't go that deep into the book and reference every little plot hole, but I'll tell you the basics. So basically, you have your title character, Scott Pilgrim, who's a 23-year-old slacker, doesn't have a job, and just pretty much lives off of everyone. He's in a band called Sex Bob if I'm pronouncing that right. It's kind of hard to really say it over and over again. But he is about to introduce his new girlfriend, Knives Chow, who is a 17-year-old high school schoolgirl who was also Chinese. It gets weirder than that, I promise you. He introduces her to pretty much everyone else in his life too, his sister and his roommate. And the thing is that people are trying to warn Scott that this will end horribly, because they think that Knives is just a rebound, because he got out of a really horrible relationship with his ex-girlfriend, Envy Adams. Scott ends up telling people that she is the one for him, and that she can get him out of his funk and depression, until one night he starts dreaming, and out of nowhere, this girl with roller skates, goggles, and pink hair shows up, and he's just wondering, who is this woman? Things get a little weird, because Scott and Knives, they end up going to the library together to get Knives some school stuff. And out of nowhere, the woman with the pink hair is there, and he doesn't know how to really comprehend all of it, really. Later on in the night, Scott and his friends, they go to a party, and out of the blue, she's actually there. So he axes around and tries to figure out, who the hell is this girl who showed up in his dream, and out of the blue, she's just everywhere for some reason. So it turns out her name is Ramona Flowers, and for the rest of the book, Scott becomes a little obsessive of her and believes that he's immediately in love with her and sidetracking Knives, and this is pretty much what everybody warned him. He would just skip to the next girl while also breaking another girl's heart. He tries to find a way to contact Ramona, but ends up finding out that he is targeted by 7 evil strangers, and he just thinks that that's ridiculous and stuff. By some miracle, Scott convinces Ramona to go out on a date with him, and the date turns out to be successful. They end up spending the night together, and he ends up getting the girl's number, and he invites her to a Battle of the Bands performance where his band is going to be going up against another band. And that's when strange things start to happen. Not only does he have to explain who Ramona is to his band and his sister and his friends, but his girlfriend, Knives Chow, is also there too. And it gets way stranger than that. While performing at the Battle of the Bands, a non-colored pirate fashionista shows up, shooting fireballs at Scott and summoning demon hipster chicks. He and Scott have to get into a battle to the death in order to control the heart of Ramona, and eventually Scott wins. But it comes at a price. Ramona states that if her and Scott are going to continue to date, that he would need to defeat her 7 evil exes. The reason why I say exes is, well, it is actually explained later on in the books. What I really like about the book is that for some reason you're rooting for Scott to win at the end. He's a slacker, and he's cheating on girls, and he doesn't want to really do anything with his life. The fact that he's cheating on Knives with this girl he just immediately met, he's getting exactly what he deserved, because there's this guy who's just trying to kill him and just warned him about the dangers, and he just decides, no, I'm just gonna skip it. What I really do think that's really gonna suck people into the book is that it's about a garbage person who just pretty much eases his way out of life and now will have to face the consequences, while at the same time growing into being a better person and treating others with respect, actually. On the other characters, I really like Ramona Flowers. I thought her introduction in the actual book is very interesting. It's intriguing how she can sort of appear in Scott's dream and give him visions and stuff, and she calls it a subspace highway, which I frankly thought that was very clever. I love how mysterious Ramona is, and not just because of the way she looks, acts, or talks, but pretty much her past, which is coming back to haunt her and destroy any type of future love interests. And you do kind of wonder, why is it happening? Did she do something? Did somebody do something to her? I love the Knives character. She's a 17-year-old teenage girl who's a little bit naive, but really in love with Scott, though. But it's a little bit obsessive at times, though, but you do feel sympathy for her. I mean, she doesn't cause harm to anyone. She just wants to be loved, and, you know, pretty much teenage girls at that time, they eventually get obsessive with relationships, though. I've never been in any of those, actually. I'm not a teenage girl, so I wouldn't really know for sure. But I've seen it many times, actually. But just from all the characters in the book wanting her to really distance herself away from Scott, you do feel a bit sympathy for her. And eventually when you see Scott actually cheating on her with Ramona, you kind of wish good things would happen to Knives. A fan favorite character that everyone is really gonna like is Wallace Wells. He's sarcastic, he's witty, and the thing is, he uses his homosexuality as a strong point for him. And he's also somewhat of a bachelor too, because he's not like any type of stereotypical gay best friend or anything like that. No, he's Scott's roommate. He tells him exactly what he needs to do, or, you know, like, you shouldn't really be doing this. This is wrong. You need to break up with this girl. And that's one of the best things I like about Wallace, though. The novel is very heavily influenced by manga, and O'Malley did a really good job for people who actually don't read manga. I don't, honestly. I'm more of a standard issue comic book guy and, you know, picking up the volumes and stuff. But both comic book readers and manga readers can actually enjoy Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, from the big giant facial exaggerated expressions, and you also have nice visual elements. The dialogue is great, it's actually really funny, and if you've actually seen the movie before reading this graphic novel, I highly recommend you do. Like I said, the first graphic novel is mainly the first act of the movie. But I think that's good. It won't detract anyone that much from reading the whole entire series. And believe it or not, you'll realize that it's actually better than the actual movie. One thing that I hate is that you'll notice some things that was better in the graphic novel than it was in a movie, and you know, it gets annoying sometimes. All in all, I think this graphic novel works for anyone who loves comic books, anyone who loves graphic novels, anyone who loves the movie, and anyone who is interested in reading comic books or manga. I'm gonna give this graphic novel, Scott Pilgrim's Precious Little Life, a 7.5 out of 10. That's mainly because I saw the movie first, though. But it's not an amazing book or anything, but it's a very nice read, and I think pretty much anyone will like it. Thank you for watching this video review. Let me know if you guys like this and if you guys want me to review more books in the Scott Pilgrim world. And let me know if you guys are actually going to watch it or read the book, actually. As much as I love the movie, I do recommend you watch it, but read the book first. You'll really like that. There are two versions, actually. There's one that's just black and white, which how they originally came out. And there are ones that are colored, and they've actually just recently came out. And all of them are in color, though, so I highly recommend you do that instead of the black and white. But if you guys want the real manga experience or whatever, just collect the ones that are black and white. I have the first book, the second book, the third book, and the sixth book. I still need to get the fourth and fifth, even though I read them all. And after I get the fourth and fifth, they're all going to be black and white, and then I'm going to go for the color ones. So I'll have two different versions, actually. That's going to be weird, and it's going to be really hard to explain that to people. I can't even explain it for myself, actually.